Okay, so, like, imagine this, right? You just landed a huge promotion. Like, seriously huge. Champagne's popping, everyone's giving you high fives, but
Yeah.
there's this little voice in your head, yeah. And it's whispering, they made a mistake, you're going to be found out. Ever been there? Because today, we're diving deep into imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
We're taking excerpts from Office Epidemics, that book by Suram.
Yeah, yeah.
It's got a whole chapter on navigating this in the workplace, and let me tell you, it is way more common than people realize.
Oh, absolutely. It's actually remarkable how many people, even those who seem wildly successful, secretly struggle with this feeling of being a fraud. They think they're the only ones, so they just keep quiet.
Totally. It's like this secret club where nobody wants to be a member.
Right.
And Office Epidemics does a brilliant job of bringing this to life with the story of Ramesh.
Ah, yes. Ramesh, the project manager, right?
Yes. He just landed this massive client. Everyone's ecstatic. But Ramesh, he's convinced it was a fluke, that any minute now, everyone will realize he's in over his head.
Totally. And that's classic imposter syndrome right there in the book. It's that disconnect. You achieve something amazing, but instead of owning it, you explain it away. It was luck, or anyone could have done it, that sort of thing.
So it's more than just being humble.
Way more. This is like deeply ingrained self-doubt. And it's not harmless either. It can seriously impact not just your own work, but your team, your whole organization even. The book talks about how Ramesh's colleagues pick up on this, right? Priya, who knows he's brilliant, is confused. Ravi, the CEO, is worried about how it'll affect Ramesh's leadership potential down the line.
Wow.
And Ananya, the intern, she's starting to think this constant self-doubt is just normal in the working world. Imagine trying to celebrate a team win when one person keeps minimizing their contribution. It's a mess.
That's like imposter syndrome is contagious or something. Makes you wonder what even causes it in the first place. Is it a fear of success? Something deeper? I know, it's fascinating.
It's like this fear of being exposed, right? Like, you're a phony and everyone's about to figure it out, even when, logically, you know you're not.
You've got the resume, the experience.
Exactly. But the feeling's still there. And, a lot of times, this comes with, like, a huge helping of perfectionism.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, it's never good enough. You could nail it,
Yeah.
but you'll still find something to criticize.
Right. Which is interesting because Office Epidemics actually gives us this framework for understanding how bad it is, like how deep the imposter syndrome runs. They break it down into 3 levels: perception, problem, pain.
Perception, problem, pain. Okay, so like stages, getting progressively worse.
Yeah, kinda. And for each level, the book has these like self-reflection questions. So at the perception level, it might be, do you often think you're just lucky, not skilled? Or are you scared people will realize you're not as competent as they think?
It's like those little thoughts we brush off, or, oh, it was just good timing, or anyone could have done that.
Exactly. But then it can become a problem. This is when it actually messes with your work.
Yeah.
Like maybe you over-prepare for everything, even if you're the expert. Or you avoid new challenges because what if you fail?
Oof, I know that feeling.
Right. And there's this question in the book for this level. You get good feedback consistently, but you still feel like you're going to be found out.
Yeah, like the validation doesn't stick.
Exactly. And sadly, for some people, it keeps getting worse. That's the pain level.
King level, that sounds rough.
It can be. It's when imposter syndrome is so deep, it's not just a feeling anymore. It affects like everything, your work, relationships, even just enjoying life. You don't take risks. You don't celebrate wins.
It's like you're frozen by this fear of not being good enough, no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah, and it makes me think of something else the book mentioned about how this can hit women, especially high achievers, really hard. They downplay everything, never take credit.
It's heartbreaking, honestly.
It is. But here's the good news, okay? Office Epidemics doesn't just leave us in this pit of despair. They actually give us tools to fight back. And it all starts with this acronym, BELIEVE.
Believe. Okay, I'm all ears. I love a good acronym.
Right. So each letter, it's a step you can take to combat those imposter thoughts and actually build real confidence. And what I love is they don't just tell you the steps, they show you how they work with stories like this guy, Amit.
Amit. Refresh my memory. Who's that again?
Amit's this software developer, right? And he's terrified of a promotion, thinks he'll totally bump.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember him. Poor guy. So how does believe help someone like that?
Well, the B is for be mindful of your achievements. Like, really acknowledge them, write them down. The book talks about how important it is to have that record, so when the self-doubt hits, you've got proof. So instead of brushing off praise or saying it was luck, Amit starts actually noting down what he did well.
It's like fighting back with facts.
Exactly. And this kind of leads into the next one, the E, embrace growth. It's about like changing your mindset. Challenges aren't threats. They're how we learn. So instead of freaking out about failing, Amit starts thinking about what skills he'll gain, what he'll learn from the new role.
Pulling that fear into fuel. I like it. So be mindful of your achievements. Embrace growth. What's next?
Learn to accept praise, which, let's be honest, is harder than it sounds for a lot of us.
Oh, tell me about it. Some of us are allergic to compliments. Deflect, deflect, deflect.
Right, but this step, it's about pausing and letting those good words sink in.
Internalize them, yeah.
Exactly. It's not about getting a big head. It's just acknowledging that you did good. And this ties into the I, identify false beliefs. Basically, what are those nasty things you tell yourself, and are they even true?
You're not good enough. You'll be found out, all that fun stuff.
Yep. And often it comes from like past experiences, things we were told growing up, whatever. But once we see those beliefs, we can challenge them. Is this really true? What evidence do I have?
Love it. So we're calling out those BS stories, which I assume leads to engage in positive self-talk.
Bingo. This is where you actively fight those negative thoughts. Be kind to yourself, like you would to a friend.
Become your own hype person, not your own worst enemy.
Yes. Okay, 2 left. Ready. Okay, so the V is for validate your experiences.
Ooh, I like that. Tell me more about that one.
So it's all about recognizing that setbacks are going to happen. Like it's part of the process, right? No one's perfect. We're going to mess up. But it's about how we see those mess ups.
All right, because you can either let them crush you
Or you can learn from them. But the book talks about this shift, Mistakes aren't proof that you're a failure. They're just like data points, part of the journey.
It's like giving yourself permission to be human. We're allowed to make mistakes as long as we grow from them.
Exactly. And that takes us to the last E in believe. Elevate your confidence. And how do we do that? We step outside that comfort zone, take on those challenges that make you want to hide under your desk.
Face those imposter syndrome triggers head on.
Yes, because real confidence, it's not about never being afraid. It's about doing it scared. You take that first step, even if you're terrified, and you trust that you'll figure it out as you go, just like Ramesh did.
Oh, yeah. What happened with him again? Did he survive that promotion?
Not only survive, he killed it. Remember how terrified he was? Well, that believe framework, game changer. He realized that his fear, it just meant he cared.
That's a good point. Sometimes fear is a sign that you're on to something big.
For sure. So instead of letting it stop him, he used it. He prepped like crazy, got himself a mentor, really embraced learning the ropes.
And it paid off.
Big time. He excelled in the new role, and then, get this, he started helping other people with their imposter syndrome.
Wow, talk about turning things around.
Right. His story is such a good reminder that overcoming this, it's not about like, poof, suddenly you're fearless. It's about taking action, even when you're scared, and trusting that you've got what it takes.
That's really inspiring, honestly. No matter how much imposter syndrome we're dealing with, there's hope. And I love how this book, Office Epidemics, gives us those concrete steps. The believe framework, it's brilliant.
Totally. And it reminds us, like, we're not alone in this, right? We can rewrite those stories we tell ourselves.
100%. And it makes me think about something you said earlier about imposter syndrome being this gap between how we see ourselves and what we're actually capable of. How do we close that gap? Not by shrinking back, but by, like, really stepping into our potential. Something to think about for sure.
Now, that is a fantastic question and a perfect place to leave it. It's a journey, right? And hey, if anyone wants to go deeper on this, Office Epidemics is definitely worth a read.
It absolutely is. And with that, we'll wrap up this deep dive into imposter syndrome. Just remember, you've got this. You are capable, and you deserve all the good things coming your way. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep believing in yourself.